Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Moving to Australia podcast. Today we will learn about the Occupation Standard Classification for Australia, OSCA, a standardized framework for storing, organizing and reporting occupation-related information and how it relates to ANZSCO. Currently, the Australian and New Zealand Standard Classification of Occupations, ANZSCO, is used as a tool to define the occupations that feature on the core skills occupation list for skill migration. This will not be impacted after OSCA's release on 6th December. Both Australian Bureau of Statistics ABS and Statistics New Zealand have been joint custodians of ANZSCO since it was first published in 2006. Both government statisticians have now agreed to introduce their own tailored occupational statistical classifications. This localized adaptation will allow each government agency to maintain separate but aligned classifications to better reflect the current labour market and meet stakeholder needs. With me in the studio to discuss OSCA and how it compares and contrasts with ANZSCO is Amitava. Good afternoon, Amitava. How are you?
Good afternoon, Arun. I'm good. How is everyone?
We're in the middle of a thunderstorm, if you've noticed.
Is it? Okay. I can see there is rain, but we need the thunderstorm because it has been very hot recently.
So, Amitava, OSCA, as described by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, is a skill-based classification of jobs and occupations. How is this framework different to ANZSCO?
So OSCA, which stands for Occupation Standard Classification for Australia, is the new framework that has been introduced to replace ANZSCO in Australia from 6 December 2024. The decision to transition from ANZSCO to OSCA reflects a need to modernize the occupation classification system and ensure it better aligns with the current Australian labour market and its future needs. ANZSCO is Australia-New Zealand, so it is a combined one, whereas OSCA is specifically for Australia. So what are the various features of OSCA? Number one, of course, is Australia's specific focus. While ANZSCO was developed as a joint system between Australia and New Zealand, OSCA is tailored specifically to the needs of Australia. This allows for more targeted classification that better reflects Australia's unique labour market dynamics, skill shortages and industry requirements. So when ANZSCO was done, it was very aligned both. So things have slightly changed and moved. Second is increased flexibility. OSCA is more adapted to changes in the workforce and emerging industries. It provides a dynamic framework that can be updated more frequently. ANZSCO, as you know, many audiences, many from the audience would appreciate. ANZSCO had occupations that were there for ages and which did not really adapt to the newer. Can you identify any of these?
No.
Marketing, for example. Marketing specialist. Now marketing has now expanded into such a big domain. There is digital marketing that is not really addressed by ANZSCO. It doesn't do justice because marketing and advertising has not blown up. Similarly, cybersecurity and even in IT, there are so many data scientists. There's nothing for data scientists in ANZSCO. There's things like that. Modernized occupation classifications is the next one. OSCA includes updated classifications that better reflect the current rules and industries in Australia, and not just Australia, even elsewhere in the world. People can relate better. Fourth one, clearer skill definitions. Of course, when you identify new codes, there are newer definitions. And support for emerging occupations. Occupations are going to be outdated. New occupations will emerge as we move on. 20 years ago, has anyone heard about cryptocurrency or data science? These are new emerging occupations and so on. So that's what I would say. The main difference between OSCA and ANZSCO.
So what are the key benefits of OSCA?
I just discussed the benefits, right? It is more dynamic, more flexible, more aligned to emerging occupations. But one must realize Home Affairs are not using OSCA yet. Home Affairs are using ANZSCO. And CSOL,
Core scale occupational list, yeah.
yeah, that's for 482. That list has occupations that are part of ANZSCO version 2022. So a lot of those occupations, I will give an example. ICT security specialist. ICT security specialist was there earlier. It is still there as part of skilled migration, but when you come to OSCA or version 2022, it is not there. And CSOL is based on ANZSCO version 2022 mainly, or it's a combination of all three. Eventually, Home Affairs is going to replace everything with OSCA. So it's important to understand. I think you guys, the Google is available. It has all the information. You can go and study yourself.
So as a MARA agent, do you have any time frame from the government when we will see a transition completely from ANZSCO to OSCA?
Not really, and I think it's not a very easy change because it will require the entire system to change, and not just the system and processes. All the various online tools have to change. It's a big investment. It's not going to happen quickly, but it may be aligned with the changes to the points-based migration. And I think if you see the trend nowadays is more towards employer-focused migration than independent skilled migration. And the reason there is that there is always a gap between what the market needs and what the individual migrants bring to the table. So a lot of those individual skilled migrants come here and are not able to be employed.
Was this the most significant driver behind this change, you think?
That could be, because one of the things this is going to do is identify people and their skills better, segment them better, and allocate them codes which are not very generic or legacy. Example being marketing. Someone who's done brand marketing is going to be different to someone who's done SEO marketing, right? So these need to be segregated, and the industry will look at those two different groups separately.
So what role do you see OSCA play in skill migration?
As I briefly mentioned, for skilled migration, the entire thing will change. I feel it is not going to be part of the points-based system anymore. It's going to evolve into something more flexible, more aligned to the labor market, more aligned to employers' needs, because eventually the purpose of getting skilled migrants is to fill in the shortage in the labor market, to fill in any gap that may be there. Hence, I feel this will be a big step.
Do you think the ABS, Australian Bureau of Statistics, they'll publish periodic updates to OSCA which are consistent to current market trends in the labor market?
Well, OSCA is already there, right? And I don't see changes happening too fast. Otherwise, the market will get confused. So yes, of course, there will be versions. Just like ANZSCO. ANZSCO has got 3 versions. If you're aware, there's version 1.2, version 1.3, and version 2022. Only 3.
So do you believe we will see annual revisions to OSCA?
They have not mentioned any such thing. It probably will be based on demand. We don't change it just because it is flexible, open for change. Change has to go through a change management process. Due diligence needs to be done, because change has impact, and the impact is all over the industry, including the systems in various departments, including Home Affairs.
So what's the future for ANZSCO, in your opinion?
ANZSCO has evolved. It's still being used. So eventually it will be
phased out.
For CSOL, for subclass 482 and direct entry subclass 186 visa, we are using ANZSCO, the latest version, but eventually it'll be phased out. It's going to be difficult because if we say ANZSCO is out, OSCA is in, it means a lot of changes. So it's not going to happen, but I think the purpose of this podcast is for people to be aware that there will be changes coming and that it may impact, and especially employers. They should look out as well for any information. It's always there in the ABS.
Yeah, and the New Zealand equivalent of OSCA is the National Occupation List. Is that right?
Yes. So I don't have much information about that, but yes, they'll have their own list in the future.
Okay, this is going to be a short podcast, but thank you for your time. I know
you.
you were pressed for time today, so
Yeah.
we'll keep it short. Thank you for tuning in, folks, and we will see you again next week. Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.